Initially, the technology part was really super hard, but it was one of those things where timing was amazing. The technology is now available and it was not that expensive for us. So some academics were starting to test it out. We worked with a few of the leading guys in the field. We started building prototypes. We came to the US. I presented that prototype at a industry lunch and learn thing, and a customer literally tried to buy it there and then in the room. And that was when I realized we'd crossed that MVP threshold of, okay, great. And then we kind of got to work on really fleshing out the super hard, thorny bits. My name is Virginia Szepietowski, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Naiad AI.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
I think 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
Took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their
A
back.
company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Lappart, and today how Virginia Szepietowski is giving you the best operating signal through automated organism detection for wastewater. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. Virginia Szepietowski grew up in the UK outside of London and now lives in Alabama. She's had a winding path to her current venture, including bodybuilding, triathlons, law, and entrepreneurship. She comes from a family of entrepreneurs who are deeply ambitious, tenacious, and deeply humble. She finds the feeling of a safety net from her family as she pursues her adventures. But outside of tech, she is married to her now co-founder. She's still a competitive bodybuilder and likes to push herself to the limit. Through a series of life events, Virginia got interested in water treatment. She started discovering the world of wastewater operators and the fact that they are the last line of defense before toxic wastewater moves into our waterways, rivers, and such. Using AI, her and her team started to build a platform for these operators to quickly detect organisms in the water streams. This is the creation story of Naiad AI.
So, Naiad comes from the Greek mythology word for river guardian. And to set the scene, I have to take you back to the 1970s. So it was proven then that looking under a microscope was the way to manage the process of treating wastewater, which is essentially a little zoo of good bugs that eat the bad bugs. The problem with that is that it is very rigorous and it is very expertise intensive, which makes it hard for humans to do. But those two things, software is really good at. So the challenge was the computer vision, establishing whether it was even possible. Could we apply computer vision to the concept of looking under a microscope at bugs? And can we draw a parallel between what they're seeing under the microscope to the impact of the efficiency and compliance of a wastewater treatment plant? Initially, the technology part was really super hard, but it was one of those things where timing was amazing. The technology is now available and it was not that expensive for us. So some academics were starting to test it out. We worked with a few of the leading guys in the field. We started building prototypes. We came to the US. We started working with a couple of design partners. And then I presented that prototype at a industry lunch and learn thing. And a customer literally tried to buy it there and then in the room. And that was when I realized we'd crossed that MVP threshold of, okay, great. And then we kind of got to work on really fleshing out the super hard, thorny bit. So what we have today is a web app. The customer buys a license. They take a microscopy image. So most have a standard digital microscope. They get the sample under the microscope, image it, upload it to the NIAD web app. We do some really cool computer vision analysis on it, and we can extract trends about their operations and recommend process control changes. So it helps an operator to run a wastewater treatment plant that is safe, efficient, and compliant. Soon it's going to be plugged into the other systems and the other kind of data inputs in the plant. And more broadly, and in the future, we talk about it being a Jarvis for wastewater, the Jarvis from Iron Man.
So let's go back to that prototype. Call it the MVP. I'm curious about that first version that you built and you showed off and someone tried to buy it. How long did it take you to build and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
So my co-founder, Chris, is a brilliant engineer and we work particularly well as a team because I'm good with people and he is great with machines. So he set to work building the initial MVP, and it initially was literally a rudimentary dashboard with a human in the loop being the AI expertise. So that was what we used to validate. Have you ever heard the analogy of if you want to set out to build or to teach a monkey to recite Shakespeare standing on a stool, you have to start off by teaching the monkey to recite Shakespeare, not building the stool. So we started off with that kind of approach. So once we'd validated that the problem was worth solving, we went through every step from very quick prototyping, used Replit, used Cursor. Chris tried a bunch of different open source, closed models. Because of how good those prototyping tools are, he was able to get an interface up really fast so that I could spend my time in front of a customer getting a bunch of customer feedback really fast while we were then building the models in the background. So we 1,000% stood on the shoulders of giants and we constantly switched between Codex, Anthropic and OpenAI, and with the underpinning belief that user feedback was the most important thing. So the best bit about how fast we were able to build and to iterate was that it bought me time to be in front of customers. So Chris built the very first prototype in a matter of weeks. And then it's one of those things, right? As the non-technical founder, sometimes it's hard for me to distinguish between what takes 5 minutes and what takes 5 months. But that's, yeah, like I say, that's where having a strong engineering co-founder is there's the power of having the right partnership. And the fun bit was that I get to test it and put it in front of the user and watch them play with it and watch where they're unsure of where to click next or where they struggle or where the language on the web app doesn't quite land. Those are the kind of psychology bits that I really enjoy.
Okay, so in that first MVP, And I could probably cherry pick this a bit from your answer, but in that first MVP, I'm curious about a pillar decision you had to make, one that really shaped and formed how you moved forward and how you built that MVP and how you approached the market a bit and how you coped with that decision.
There was a belief at the beginning that the more we could offer the customer, the happier they would be. And that's not the case. We tried to add in another sensor from a third party. And I remember being in a discussion with this design partner, and we said, okay, look, we can, like, this sensor it's a bit of hardware, we'll ship it in, we'll cover the costs. And I could not understand why the deal wouldn't close. So I was like, we are giving you so much value out of this. And it ended up, we then had a face-to-face conversation. And I was like, look, what is actually going on here? And they said, look, the sensor sounds great, but that means that we would have to switch off our operations. We would have to have someone come in and install it. And so we would have lost production time by installing the sensor. And we can't really justify that just now. So once I said, okay, we can just ditch the sensor and we can just have the software. They were like, okay, great. And then it was signed that day. So some of those decisions was just trying to do too much for the customer. When we're an early stage company, you don't want to ask the customer to do too much early on. The less you can ask of them, the better. So if you say this single tool does this single job, but it does it really well, it's less for them to digest. It's easier for them to explain to their supervisors. It's easier for them to put on a purchase order. It just makes things simple. So simplicity for that early MVP was crucial. Not trying to do too much.
Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. Let's move forward then. So you've got the MVP done. You've shown it to the world. You've gotten feedback. Someone tried to buy it. How did you progress it from that point and mature it? I think to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how do you build your roadmap? How do you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address?
Customer feedback. So we were able to ride that wave of product velocity in a way that was much faster than we expected. And the machine learning bit is really hard. Spending time with them in person and actually just asking them, what do you use? Show me how you're using this. And sitting next to them, like I said, like watching them where their mouse hovers, how they're actually using it daily. We have a big screen in our office and we have a kind of a feedback button on every response. And when we get some feedback, there's like a big red light that lights up on our screen. And we all drop what we're doing and we deal with it. So we call up the customer and we say, okay, look, I've noticed you've just done this, or you've done this upload. Talk me through it. Why did that not work for you? What were you expecting? That was the key, because I am not my customer. I am not a wastewater treatment plant operator. I've done the courses and I understand as much as I can. But because I am not literally there on a plant all day, the single most important thing was not building what I think they might want. It was building what they actually want and need. And as dashboards and interfaces have become so easy and cheap to build, so many people are now building things that maybe people don't need. And I was really desperately conscious to not fall into that trap. I wanted to build something that had really genuine value, because otherwise we're just wasting everybody's time. So getting in front of them and actually hearing what they have to say. We spent a lot of time physically in person, which was the benefit and why we started in Alabama, and why being in the US is so great, because we didn't have that kind of infrastructure available in the UK.
How did you build your team? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
There was some trial and error. We have become a really mission-driven team, which is one of the things I'm most proud of. We decided to just ditch resumes. I don't even look at someone's resume. So the best hires have been kind of unusual ones. We have a bit of a rubric where we say, have they done something extraordinary? And it doesn't, there's literally no limit to what that could be. One of our team went and spent 40 days in Antarctica. One of our team can run a 2:20 marathon. So we look for the spike of someone extraordinary who strives for something more. The next thing we look for is super high agency. I'm a big believer that I think that is the single biggest indicator of success. And we also hire, we call it, they have that dog in them. And it encompasses a bit of everything. Are they hungry? Are they ambitious? Do they strive for the best? We have a pair of speakers, like some speakers in our office linked to an iPad. And they are so janky and they're so difficult to connect that we almost use it as a test. Right? If someone comes in and you say, oh, can you connect that? Because they're so bloody difficult to connect, do they give up after 90 seconds of trying? Or do they keep, like a dog with a bone, do they keep going at it until it's done? So that's another rubric that we like to make sure they've got that dog in them.
This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's mezmo.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. Okay, Virginia, let's move forward then. I'm curious about scale, and I'm curious about how scale has impacted the way you approach this problem. And then also, if there's been interesting areas where you've had to fight scale as you've grown, and that could be tech, people, business, all the things.
We're a software-only company, so by default, we're nicely scalable. I would say that some of the decisions we made early on, we tried to optimize for scale, and they were the wrong decisions. So we tried to make onboarding really scalable, really hands-off. The customer could potentially self-serve. They can buy it, and then we can build materials and resources that will allow them to learn at their own pace on how to use this tool. And actually that was just not what the customers wanted. The old adage of doing things that don't scale, in this case, absolutely applied. So being like in person, giving customers the attention and the effort to help them learn a kind of net new product on a live call or on even via text, rather than giving them a recording or giving them a guide. It has proven way more successful in adoption than people who we tried to allow them to self-serve. So we want to hold their hand through the process. We want to control the experience and make the experience absolutely delightful, because we're building for an industry who do not often get a customer experience of absolute delight, other than maybe buying their own iPhone. But everything else in the industry is not built for a beautiful experience. It's not even necessarily built to be beautiful to look at. So we want to be the best part of our customer's day. And that's something that we repeat every single time you pick up the phone, every single time you text or call or have a Google Meet onboarding or anything. It is built into us that every single interaction with our customer, you strive for that to be the highlight of their day. So we obviously have a bunch of automation stuff in-house and internally that make our work run smoothly, but scaling the onboarding, the customer interactions is just going to be people's time. And we're not going to strive to make that automated in any way.
As you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built with Naiad AI, what are you most proud of?
I'm building a team of people who I am in awe of, who are really driven by a vision that I laid out and a mission that we can get behind. That is not the big, sexy industry. It's something that I honestly marvel at every single day. And it's something that I pinch myself and think, oh my God, I can't believe these people who I respect so deeply are doing this with me. I can't believe I've convinced them to do this with me. This is amazing. And to watch them get so much from it. And most of them are not from the wastewater world themselves. It's not an industry that people leave college or hear about startup world. And yeah, that's cool, I'm gonna go work in wastewater. It means that none of it is performative, which makes it even more special. So that is honestly the thing that I'm most proud of, seeing them grow, seeing them learn and change and get fired up on Naiad's behalf. I mentioned earlier that I come from a family that is like a family that would kill for each other. Like I said, I feel like I've unintentionally started to build that culture that we go out to bat for each other. And yes, we will do things internally for the benefit of the company, and everyone has a voice and everyone is heard. But externally, it feels like we are a ride or die team. And it's something I'm really super proud of.
Okay, Virginia, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
An early one was when a team member no longer fit, and when there was different priorities and when there were concerns there, and I didn't address them soon enough. And when there is someone in the team who doesn't want to be there, or who has competing priorities or a completely different view of what the company is and what it should be, and what it's different to everybody else's, and that's like at loggerheads, I let that go on too long. Maybe out of fear that I didn't know whether I'd be able to hire somebody else, and this was really early on, before we'd raised our funding, like that. It can be, I think an empty seat is less damaging than one filled with the wrong person. So not addressing those issues sooner and being honest and vulnerable with the team as well. Like that was a big kind of unlock. As the CEO, I see it as my job to be strong. And I think so many founders also struggle with this. Being able to turn around to your team and sometimes say, I actually don't know what to do here. One of the kind of mistakes we made that I mentioned was going too broad and not being totally clear in the one really strong value prop of what we were selling. And like we said, I thought customers would buy more if we could do more stuff. But we tried to be too much to too many types of people, which is a classic problem classic mistake so many people make. So being vulnerable with the team and being able to say, okay, I made a mistake in this call, and owning it, taking responsibility, changed the dynamic of the team that has been significantly more like deep and real since then. Made it a more honest relationship, and we have deeper respect both ways. Not a team that would ever consciously point fingers, whatever. So taking responsibility on my shoulders, I take responsibility for anything and everything that happens to the company, and actually being able to say, yeah, this was a mistake. And when you make yourself vulnerable like that, that can make the team rally around, and it doesn't make them angry. It doesn't make them upset that maybe we lost some sales because I didn't communicate it in the best way. It allows us to all rally together, and then we're all sending each other podcasts and sending each other links of messaging. We all rally together and we learn together. That at least was the experience there. So honesty is always the best policy, and sometimes it's the right thing to put your hands up and say, made a bad call.
This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your code base. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. Okay, Virginia, let's move forward then. I'm curious about what the future looks like for Naiad AI, for what you offer for the industry that you serve, given the advent of even more AI and the fast-moving nature of that technology. What does the future look like?
So I would love to touch more of the day of an operator. So as a team, we are fantastic at computer vision. So building the best possible tools as this historically very slow-moving conservative industry is actually starting to move into this new era. And even the last 6 months since we commercially launched, I have seen such a drastic change in the attitude of utilities and treatment plants moving forward and actually actively seeking AI tools, which is amazing, which is a year ago, I would barely have believed that kind of attitude. So it's amazing. So we are absolutely primed to build a world where every single operator performs like that top 1%. And so it can mean that every single plant will be able to use less chemicals, like haul less sludge, fewer polluting events, run plants in a way that are genuinely safe, efficient, and compliant at the best possible cost, and allow them to allocate resources to other areas.
Let's switch to you, Virginia. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why. I recall our conversations about your family. I'm curious if it's them or if it's other folks as well.
It's definitely family and with the work ethic and the tenacity and resilience. My dad's called John, and Chris and I, in the eye of the storm, will sometimes turn around to like, what would John do here? What would John do? WWJD. So that's always in the kind of forefront of our minds. In terms of external influences, I mentioned Richard Branson earlier. I love Richard Branson. If anyone doesn't know him, he's the British founder of the Virgin Group. He has such a ballsy, grab the bull by the horns attitude to everything. And he comes to every single industry that he comes to disrupt, he's come from the outside. And he has broken into a bunch of legacy industries and turns everything up on its head, upsets everyone in the industry, and he's gunning for the customer. The only thing that matters is that the customer wins. And he's a master of branding. He's a master of PR, which is so overlooked in my industry in particular. You walk into any of these conferences and it's like a sea of blue. Everyone is in a blue polo shirt. So when we were designing the brand for Naiad, it's like, okay, that can be anything except for blue. And my favorite color is orange. So I said the opposite to blue is orange. So let's go with that. And then often the operators on site like to wear these kind of fluorescent Carhartt. It was like perfect. It looks like safety. So we go for big, bold brand. We have a company, bright orange Cybertruck. We do TikToks. We totally flipped it on its head. And Richard Branson is my ultimate inspiration on the kind of branding side. On a personal side, I mentioned I'm a bodybuilder. I am a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, like the biggest fan ever. The way that he has conquered so many different disciplines and the total unapologetic attitude of going into bodybuilding and saying, I'm going to be the best in the world at this. And then he goes into movies. I'm going to be the best movie star in the world. Then he goes into property, he goes into business, he goes into politics. And he comes to each of these disciplines, again, as an outsider, and conquers them. And there is just something that I resonate with so deeply on that level. And the addiction to discipline and the addiction to striving for the best and having that singular goal and willing to do absolutely anything that it takes. And plus he was striving for the American dream the same way I am, coming over from Europe, chasing the American dream. So yeah, he's shapes me in many ways.
Okay, Virginia, one last question. You're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I often think about this phrase that Chris actually said to me. So Chris, my co-founder, said very early on when I was doubting myself, like, what about my right to play in this space? Will people take me seriously? And he turned around to me and said, if not you, then who? And I think about that all the time. If not you, then who? Who is going to go out and build this? If you think about all the people who doubted whether they should be building this thing or whether people were going to take them seriously and they were going to be accepted by the industry and they would be accepted by the customer and all this, if they hadn't had gone and done it, think of Elon, think of Steve Jobs, think of Johnny Ive, all the people who, have touched the technology that shape our world today. Yeah, there's something, who else is going to do it? So I love that, and I always think of that. And then just velocity. Remember, you have to be on the move. Time is the only constant. So make sure, enjoy the journey, keep pushing, stay alive. Standing still is moving backwards. So velocity is king.
I love all of that. Couldn't agree more. Well, Virginia, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for telling the creation story of Naiad AI.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.